Arsenal draw with Man United as we learned 5 vital things which could be make or break in their quest for European triumph, while everyone at Arsenal is waiting for the announcement of a big signing this month. This is all the latest news about Arsenal Football Club on Now Arsenal. After Sunday's performance at Old Trafford, where Arsenal were held to a 1-1 draw by Manchester United, the Gunners' hopes of lifting the Premier League trophy are fading week by week. One day on from Liverpool's win over Southampton, the gap between the two sides is now 15 points, despite the Gunners having a game in hand. Still, a potential 12-point gap seems a little too much for what Arsenal are capable of at the moment. The good news is that we and the Arsenal coaching staff can analyse the mistakes and prepare the players for the big European games ahead. So without further ado, here are 5 things we learnt from the game. Number 1. Lack of cutting edge. Arsenal's build-up was good as it had been against PSV, but where Arsenal struggled was in making decisions in the final third and making the most of the time they spent close to the Man United area. For the whole of the first half and most of the second, Man United were happy to let Arsenal have the ball and have 10 men behind the ball as Arsenal passed it sideways. Many of Arsenal's shots came from outside the box. Later in the game, with Gabriel Martinelli on the pitch, Arsenal opted to go wide and cross the ball more often, but it has to be said that Arsenal have struggled against deep teams this season. It's safe to say that Arteta will have to find a solution to this, as we're seeing far too many points being dropped against teams playing a low block. Number 2. Struggled to contain Garnacho. Man United's plan was clear. Let Arsenal have the ball and try to get Joshua Zirkzee long or Alejandro Garnacho in behind. Gary Neville alluded to this early on in the Sky Sports commentary box, but Ricardo Calafiori and then Miles Lewis-Skelly both struggled against the Argentinian. It's possible that this was because whenever Garnacho had space to run into, Arsenal had a lot of men high up the pitch. Especially in the second half, Garnacho ran at Arsenal's defence more and more, which led to a lot of space in their half, which in turn allowed Manchester United to create more chances in the second half, which, if it wasn't for David Raya, would have been more than enough for a convincing win for the Red Devils. Number 3. No striker killing the amount of chances. Excluding the 7-1 thrashing of PSV in midweek, Arsenal have scored just once in 3 of their last 4 games. Yes, the Mikel Merino experiment worked against Leicester, but it is not a plan that can deliver results week in, week out, and it looks more and more like a desperate move. Obviously, the injuries have taken their toll, that's a fact, but even when Arsenal dominated possession in the first half at Old Trafford, it was hard to see where the goals were coming from. The title is out of reach, we can all get along with the obvious facts, but the season is far from over and Arsenal don't want to be in a position where Nottingham Forest are challenging them for second place. Against PSV, the fullbacks' runs into the half space caused huge problems, but perhaps in an attempt to keep Man United from countering, we see far fewer runs from the fullbacks into those half space channels. Number 4. Excellent Declan Rice performance. From a goal-saving intervention to stop Højlund to a fantastic strike to level the scores, Declan Rice was magnificent. Even when playing as an advanced 8, Rice kept the attack moving and linked up well with Odegaard. Rice's standard has always been high since he arrived at Arsenal, so much so that few question the high price paid for him. So it's easy to say that with Arsenal hampered by injuries, it's encouraging to see Rice in form, especially with a game against one of the Madrid clubs in less than a month's time. Number 5. The title race is finished. It hurts to say it, but these are the obvious facts, and we can conclude that not so much because of the gap, we've seen 12 points made up in the past, but rather because of Arsenal's Premier League performance in 2025. Since the start of the year, Arsenal have played 10 games and failed to win 5 of them. Furthermore, if we take the last 9 games into account, Arsenal have dropped 11 points, just too much for a team described as title contenders. Coupled with injuries and a lack of attacking intent, the gap between them and Liverpool now looks unbridgeable. The other thing is that we are in round 28 and the title race is already over. Arteta and the Arsenal team will be devastated that despite all the odds against them, they haven't been able to go any further in what's been a frustrating season in the Premier League. And to highlight the huge difference between now and 2023 and 2024, at this stage last year Arsenal had 64 points, while 2 years ago the Gunners were on 69. Well, their current record this season, 55. They have a huge gap to jump over if they're to pull off one of the most magical comebacks in English football history, but at the moment it looks impossible indeed. In other news, Arsenal have received a huge injury boost ahead of their Champions League quarter-final clash. According to The Athletic, Bukayo Saka is set to return to full first-team training this month after undergoing surgery on a torn hamstring in December. As we said, apart from the 7 goals in the Netherlands last week, Arsenal have been struggling since the injury to Bukayo Saka, with the Gunners relying so heavily on the 23-year-old to create and finish chances. Interestingly, despite missing the last 3 months of football, only Mohamed Salah has created more chances in the Premier League this season than the Arsenal man. So the return of Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli, who impressed against Man United with his sharp runs down the right, is a huge boost for the Gunners. Aside from the eagerly awaited Champions League clash, everyone at Arsenal is looking forward to what promises to be one of the busiest summer transfer windows in recent history. And one man is set to play a huge part in that, and that man is Andrea Berta. Arsenal are on the verge of appointing the Italian as their new sporting director, replacing Brazilian Edu Gaspar, who left the club at the start of the season. The Gunners have been actively searching for a replacement, with official announcements expected ahead of the summer transfer window. According to an earlier report by Fabrizio Romano, the former Atletico Madrid sporting director has emerged as the leading candidate for the role. Now, Italian journalist Matteo Moretto has confirmed that Berta will indeed be Arsenal's next sporting director, with an agreement already in place for his move to North London. Known for his eye for talent and squad-building expertise, Berta played a pivotal role in transforming Atletico Madrid into a powerhouse in Spanish and European football. During his tenure, which began in 2013, the club reached 2 Champions League finals, won 2 La Liga titles, and secured multiple domestic and international trophies. As for his work in the transfer market, let me just remind you that this is the man who bought Antoine Griezmann from Real Sociedad for 30 million in 2014, and then sold him to Barcelona for 120 million in 2019, and then re-signed him from the Catalans for another 20 million in 2022. And with all that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe to Now Arsenal, and check more information on our media channels, the NowArsenal.com website, and our socials across Instagram, Twitter and Facebook you can find in the description below. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video when we bring you more news on Arsenal Football Club.